Symbology of the Bible, Volume 2. The Shewbread. Yahshua is the bread of life. Consuming his body means consuming the Word. The book is the Word, and consuming the book means digesting the Word. Thus, the Word is the bread of life. But what is the shewbread? We find its first mentioned here. Exodus 25 verse 28. And thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, that the table may be borne with them. 29. And thou shalt make the dishes thereof, and spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal, of pure gold shalt thou make them. 30. And thou shalt set upon the table shewbread before me alway. Just like the Ark of the Covenant, this table is to be moved without touching it, and the shewbread is to be on it. This gives the shewbread the same stature as the Mosaic law, the manna from heaven, and the rod of Aaron, the symbol of the Levitical priesthood. The size of the table was to be as follows. Exodus 25 verse 23. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. Per strong, the cubit is H520.
Prolonged from H517. Properly a mother, that is unit of measure, or the forearm below the elbow, that is a cubit, also a door base.
The average length of a forearm is about 18 inch, so the table was about 3 feet by 1.5 feet on the surface, and 2 feet 3 inches high. This is a small table, and if we are talking about loaves of unleavened bread, it would not hold very much in one layer. The Hebrew for shewbread is a compound of H3899 and H6440.
H3899. Lechem. Lukem. From H3898. Food, for man or beast, especially bread or grain for making it. Shewbread, bread. Food, fruit. Loaf, meat, victuals. See also H1036. H3898. To feed on, figuratively to consume, by implication, to battle, as destruction. Etymology, a primitive root. KJV, devour, eat. Ex ever, fight, fighting. Overcome, prevail, make war, war, warring. And H6440, panim. Panim. Plural, but always used as a singular, of an unused noun which is pane. Pane, from H6437. The face, as the part that turns, and H6437, pana, to turn, by implication to face, i.e. appear, look, etc. Etymology, a primitive root. KJV, appear at eventide, behold, cast out, come on, X corner, dawning. Empty, go away, i.e. look, mark, pass away, prepare.
Before analyzing the verses, the table for the shewbread is interesting. First, it is very short, and the length is double the width, which also is not very wide, at 18 inches. But per the AI overview, the scroll size for traveling is given as follows. Ketan, small, 14 to 18 inches high. These are lighter and often used for traveling or in smaller study spaces. And, as shown in the picture above, the scrolls in the temples usually occupy a similar table. Now for the shewbread from Exodus. Digging to the roots of shewbread, we can find an interpretation of prepare for battle, which is an underlying theme of the word written to us. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 7. And even things without life, giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known? What is piped or harped? 8. For if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? Ephesians 6 verse 13. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Job 38 verse 22. Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail? 23. Which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? Amos 1 verse 14. But I will kindle a fire in the wall of Rabbah, and it shall devour the palaces thereof, with shouting in the day of battle, with a tempest in the day of the whirlwind. Revelation 20 verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. 8. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. All of the verses above pertain to the war to end all wars, the day of battle, when the Lord's army, the hail, arrive to destroy the wickedness. And we are to be prepared for the time of darkness, when the serpent arrives, and be ready for the battle. Returning to the showbread, there is a well-known event involving it. 1 Samuel 21 verse 3. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. 4. And the priest answered David, and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. 5. And David answered the priest, and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified, this day in the vessel. 6. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there, but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. In this excerpt, the Hebrew has no words, where the font is a faint italic, represented by the highlighted words, and thus translators filled in English words in the context they understood. Therefore, it is always wise to consult the original languages for one's own self. Nevertheless, David requests 5 loaves of bread for he and his men. Of note is that they haven't been with a woman, thinks seductress, for 3 days. And note the number of days. Here is some information on David and his troop. Mark 2 verse 24. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? 25. And he said unto them, Have ye never read what David did when he had need, and was an hungered, he and they that were with him? 26. How he went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar, the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat, but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him? 1 Samuel 18 verse 13. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. So David had a number of men with him, his faithful troop, and then more joined his band, after they left Nob. 1 Samuel 22 verse 2. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him. And he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. These 400 would have to be in addition to those who were already accompanying him. If there were 5 loaves of actual bread, there would be no way to feed his troop. However, from the perspective of Joshua, feeding 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves, those who joined onto David would be fish and the loaves would be the word. It was the job of scribes to make copies of the scriptures, and the priest would be in charge of distributing them. Thus, newly made copies would be put out on the table. Furthermore, recalling that the word is written of Yahshua, the men identified are types for the people who will join to his beloved. And by consuming the word, they prepared for battle, knowing and having faith in the promise of Yahweh to defeat our enemies and give us power over them. Yahshua is the bread of life and the word. Consuming his body means consuming the word, and it is to be a daily activity. Matthew 6 verse 11, give us this day our daily bread. And to close, the dimensions of the table, given above, are appropriate for reading scrolls. The book of Isaiah scroll is about 24 foot long and 10-inch high, according to one source, given in the footnote. The scroll would be rolled out to the right to the beginning and rolled up from the left. Then, as the scriptures are read, the scroll would be unrolled to the left and rolled up on the right, since Hebrew is read right to left. Sections were read, with the repeated unrolling and re-rolling. And according to the source, the verb to scroll is much used in the modern age, scrolling, up or down or sideways, with content appearing at one edge of the display and disappearing at the other, as if being unrolled from one side of a scroll and rolled up at the other. Have the word out on a daily basis on display for Father to see. He will be well pleased with a daily study to rightly divide the word.
Footnote: Ulrich Eugene, Flint, Peter W., Abegg Jr. Martin G., 2010. Qumran Cave 1-2. The Isaiah Scrolls. Oxford, Clarendon Press. Pages 59 to 65 and 88. ISBN 978-0-19-956667-9.